You are listening to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where illumination and inspiration is but a click away. With so many genre topics for you on everything that you need to know in life. We celebrate and share the people who have taken the journey before you and who are now here to serve you with their wisdom and their knowledge. The next show coming up is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ignite Your Heart and Soul and Channeling Ascensions right here on Self-Discovery Media. I'm your host, Sara Troy, with my wonderful reoccurring co-host of Channeling Ascensions, Christina Hill, and her wonderful entity, Athella. What are we going to be talking about today? Well, the art of being alone with oneself. Being alone with oneself is okay, she says. Practicing solidarity and keeping oneself aligned while in the midst of others. Example, men, egos, work, noise, and all the stress that's going on in the world right now. She says, when I am whole, healthy, and complete within, then my outer world is a mirror reflection of that inner peace and acceptance. I accept and love myself. My mind and my body are healthy and happy. I'm my own best friend. I compassionately observe my thoughts, and I am lovingly turn my total attention to the present moment wherever I catch myself drifting off to the past or my future in my mind. I know I now create a loving reality within, and I'm open to receiving love on all levels without doubt. Adopting the above affirmations of truth will create the most radical shifts in the world, and you cannot even conceive the magical changes that will occur if you say yes to loving oneself. I concur, but I will also add that I think one of the hardest things that people do have is that self-love. This is self-discovery media, so it's discovery of that love that lies within. We're constantly looking for validation. We're constantly looking for acceptance or forgiveness for something we haven't even done, for just something we are. And the whole journey of life is becoming you, stepping into your wonderful gift, being that awesome person that now is a contributor in service to life, to planet, to each other, to oneself. But the journey of self-love is a rocky one. And I think we all have to go through the Rockies or the roller coaster up and down until we get to that. But when we do, we understand the beauty of being alone. Because it's when you are alone that you rejuvenate, that you connect, that you receive, so that you can go out and spend. Welcome back, Christina.
Oh, I feel I've never left, and neither have you.
No, we did these shows weekly beforehand on Channeling Ascensions, and then Christina went to make a movie and went off on, Carnegie Hall and a few other things. But every now and again she comes back and we do a show on, ascending ourselves into a higher plane, right?
That's it. It's something that really floods into the energy field here as you're speaking. We can feel ourselves becoming aligned.
Mm-hmm.
We align with the words as you're channeling them. We align because we know it's true. Everything that we've just shared, just in this short clip, it brings us home. And we have this, maybe my self-love tank is a little bit low, and yes. I'm hearing this today so that I can return home to myself. I am so thankful to be playing here with you today, Sara. As always, our trips on the playground, right, are so much fun.
Yes.
And
take flight.
Yes.
There will be wings spreading, and not just Athella's, because you
right.
will meet Athella. And for those that have not been here before, Athella is a wonderful entity that speaks through Christina, and she is the universal wisdom that comes through to give us whatever message she wants to give us. She listens to our conversation, and somewhere along the line she jumps in with her message, which is wonderful. And I'll get the indication when it's going to happen, because we never know, do we?
Right, that's right. We'll get the wink, right?
Nudge, yes.
We'll start feeling it, and then it happens. But flowing with spirit, speaking of flowing and loving oneself, I was just talking with Sara here about the sound, right, that's reverberating on this interview. And she says to me, well, you know, maybe go get some headphones, look around and see what you have, because it sounds like you're in an empty room. And I said, well, Sarah, that's because I am in an empty room. You know, I cleared everything out. I cleared all the furniture out, and I let go of many material things to make this room a space, a container for my own solidarity, my own spiritual meditation and time with myself. And I really encourage people to find a little space for themselves in their physical location, or in your office space, or wherever you can, where you're not necessarily in bed, but you're in a quiet space for you to spend time with yourself.
Well, as you pointed out before, going home. Home isn't the building above you. The home is within you. And that taking that time to be quiet, to be still in a place that wraps its arms around you, is allowing you to go home to self, to rejuvenate, to reconnect, to open up those channels, to receive. We can't do that so easily amongst the chaos, can we?
Yeah, and yet when we are in training, we're all in the spiritual apprenticeship. When we're in training, we'll be called to be in the chaos.
Yes.
And our chaotic lives will be in the traffic and, you know, in the thick of it. And we're still practicing staying home, staying within ourselves as we're amongst the chaos, and not buying into other people's energies, other people's criticisms. As you pointed out, the need for acceptance. I just officially resigned to the need to be liked by everyone, and, you know, whatever, and just really be seated in oneself and comfortable with the home within, no matter where we are. But this is a spiritual practice. I agree with you. The chaos, the distractions, and all of that outward bound external stuff, it tends to distract us from ourselves, doesn't it?
Well, the thing is that when you master the coming home and knowing where your signature is, where your home is within yourself, you know, because the indications tap you on the shoulders. Okay, too much static out here. You can't bring home out there. You need to now go into that retreat to rejuvenate. But when you do, you go out into that chaos and you know what to filter out, don't you? Until there is that saturation point where you need to then retreat. But it's being able to be at home within the chaos. But you can't do that unless you find that connection first and know what your signature is. Where is home? Where's your door?
Yes. What does home feel like? Perhaps this would be a good pausing point where we allow spirit to flow through all of us. And this is like, Athella is with us, all of our guides are with us.
Yes.
We can pause and just reflect upon, what does my signature home space, my presence, what does it feel like? And allow. Being with yourself.
This is now Athella.
Hello. Athella is a Syrian, you see. A Syrian is always with oneself. There is no duality or separation. Syrians are invested in helping humans, taking them by the hand like children and showing them how to be all right with themselves. How to be with yourself quietly, in a calm way, even whilst you are in the hustle and bustle. It requires a level of practice. Every day, 2 or 3 minutes of quiet, calm stillness. In kindergarten, you were able to have nap time, something similar to this. You are all little children. The inside of you knows what home is like. Plan it on your schedule that you will sit quietly with yourself every day. Program it in. Within a few weeks' time, you will be able to be amongst your co-workers, your families, your friendships, in loud concerts and libraries, grocery stores. And you will be able to feel the subtle opening of yourself. After all, humans, you are with yourselves, always. But what changes when you are in the distractions? Your energy darts off. The energy is dispersed. With practice, being with yourself, the love will emerge on its own. This is the meaning of self-love, to be with yourself. This is Athella signing off. End of transmission, and I love you unconditionally.
As I said, never know when Athella is going to come in, but when she does, she always comes in with the wisdom of the now, and always in relation to what we are speaking about. And thank you, Athella. She brings some really good points there, doesn't it? In order to make something of ease, we have to do it often enough that it becomes a pattern, that our own psyche will tell us, it's time to take that breath. It's time to take those few minutes. It's time to switch off. And if we do that, and we allow our inner psyche, our inner spirit to speak to us and say, it is time. We know when to step back, whatever we're doing. Take those deep breaths and just go into wherever we need to go, going home. We will deal with stress and anxiety so much more. And we would have clarity so much more.
There was a time when I was living in boxes, and I used to be so afraid of being silent or being with myself. There's just a monster waiting for me whenever I would be with myself. And I think we can all relate to how the racy mind and our own minds, our own thoughts, just getting in there and really eating away at our sense of peace. Like the mind knows no peace.
No, it knows conditioning, it knows programming, and it won't know peace unless you program the peace in.
Get your brain in the habit of being in peace, right?
Yeah, yes. We have to remember that one part of the brain is the hard drive. It's all the mechanics that makes things work, the body work, the IC and the heart pump. But then we have the mind stuff, which is programming. It is what is learned. And we have been conditioned to learn only from mind, not and from feelings, but mostly the feelings of pain or exploitation, rather than of love and embracement. That love and embracement has to be something that a journey that we find for ourselves. And because that's when we understand love, that's when we exude love, that's when we invite love. But we can't be that until we're willing to take the journey to become it. And that means looking at your programming and going, does this serve me? Does this allow me to love myself? Or have I still got that chatter in me? You're not good enough. You're not good enough. Who do you think you are? Which is part of the society's conditioning of always measuring you up to somebody else. No, each one of us is a beautiful gift to ourselves and to everyone else. And we've got to embrace the gift that we are, no matter what gift we've been given.
Marvelous truth. It just channels right through. It's so true that our voice, the inner voice, and we identify that as who we are, and we get really in an upheaval over these stories. So observance of the stories and observance of the thoughts is the freedom. And great news is, I learned this from Athella, we can eject from all of those judgments and labels and believing in all of the stories and we can eject from all of that. And we can begin today and right now. So this thing we hear a lot, the buzzword of like presence or living in the now, where we talk a lot about it, but there's few who are really living in that. It's a practice, it's a choice to shift into nowness. We can feel it right now. Sara, I feel you very present. And when we get into our lower self, or we get into the ego mind and the stories, we start ruminating there is a definitive energy shift. And when we shift out of it, there's an energy shift there too. So there's a big differential between these two realities. And I just sure found for myself personally, it feels a lot better, and it's a lot healthier, sane, and better for everyone around me and the planet when I decide to be free from all of that, including other people's opinions and what other people are doing, and conditioning from family and generations and star constellations even, and all these patterns. We really truly get to be free, and we get to be who we are and embrace our gifts, as you said. What a joy, just to be reminded of that, what a joy that is. So I'm feeling everyone that's listening to this right now, I'm just feeling that emitting out, like that reminder of,
the rippling out. I mean, the gift of the present is in the now. And I think one of the things is we are not our story, which we get caught up in. Even the people who have told their story know they're no longer their story. Their story is just the experience that gave them the path in discovery of self. And, things happen to every one of us. You've really gone down the hell road, and you know what it's like to completely bottom out. But then once you bottomed out, where were you to go? Either under the ground or to start taking flight above. And you chose the flight above with the help of Athella, because she came in and opened you up. And that's the thing, there is always somebody or something there. We're never alone. And that's the thing, when you're saying about being alone with oneself, that's where I keep saying connection. Because when you're alone with oneself, you open up those wonderful channels, and the universe just starts downloading. And it doesn't feel like, oh God, it's downloading. Is it going to take forever and it's heavy? No, it's just like a surge of wonderful fluid energy that just runs through you, that rejuvenates you, that is a deep breath and exhale, but at the same time of clarity, where you now, through your eyes and through your psyche, through your entire beingness, you can see things in front of you that you didn't see before, because you were clouded, and now you're clear.
Yes. From the clouds into clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking maybe a 10-minute break from the board meetings,
Yes.
or a 5-minute rest from the kiddos and walking outside into the fresh air, taking a walk in nature. It's like these moments of pause. I work with clients all over the world, and very, very busy people.
Yeah.
And yet they're still finding ways to take these moments, these human moments, where we break away from it all to be with oneself. So it's not about the schedule being too busy.
Yeah.
It's
them actually understanding that that is essential as part of their business practice. And when you look at it, actually, I don't think smokers all the time want a cigarette. I think it's just a time to go out and be with self, and the cigarette's the excuse.
Yes, sure. And it's soothing. I certainly, with all the addictions prior to meeting Athella, every addiction, every single one was because of a child screaming and not being able to be soothed inside of me. Mm-hmm. And also an inability to be with myself, right? Because it's scary in there, Yeah. And when there's no sense of safety, when there's really no trust, even those individuals that haven't had trauma, for example, and they had wonderful childhoods, there's still this kind of restlessness with oneself, like this sense of tension. Who knows? And when we get quiet, then we start to realize, oh, I've been away from myself for a while. And the addictions, whether it's having a cigarette, or it's, we're on the phone and that is kind of like the way that we find a way to distract ourselves, I feel, when really we just need to soothe and come home and feel that it's safe. Our inner space is safety.
Yeah. The thing is that I think at the present moment, people aren't feeling the safety. I've just come back from the UK, where, of course, the whole Brexit hysteria has been going on. I came back to a Canadian election here, and of course, we know what's going on in America. And then you watch the news elsewhere with more unrest and more war and more killings. And I think we're in an era where people just don't know what to believe in anymore. I don't know if there's going to be a tomorrow. I don't know whether, I interviewed a woman yesterday who is British, who lived in the States, has lived in the States for 30 years. She's a doctor. She was 20 years legal, and then suddenly they just took her papers away from her for no reason. And it's, why? And, if it can happen to her, who else can it happen to? We're in such an entire global unrest at the present moment that people don't know how to go and be still or be calm. But if they don't, they're going to crack under the pressure. And it's essential that they go in and take that inner breath, come home, be still, because then you will just see the chaos that's going on. It's just a clearing. It's just shaking everything up, to wake it up for us to step up and be a part of the solution. But it's hard to be a part of that if you're caught up as the anxiety. You have to unclench. You have to take that deep breath. You have to go home within yourself so that you can see things for what they really are and not take them personally. Because that's where hysteria comes from, and fear.
I'm so thankful that this is arising. This material. I take Athella's calling here. Athella mentions to me almost daily that we're entering into a time where humans are being called outside of the cities to leave their televisions and their cellular phones and the news and all of this behind, and to enter into sanctuary in nature. And to do this either as a one-time stop or to do it on a consistent basis to develop their sense of beingness.
Yes.
And yes, it's required. Although retreat syndrome exists, there is also a way, retreat syndrome, by the way, for people who are just listening, is this kind of phenomenon where you go on retreat and you open into your bliss, right? Your third eye opens, all your chakras are charged, and you're just feeling magnificent, but you're living kind of like in a monastery for a week or so. And then it's time to go back into your quote unquote real world. And there is a crash there. Right. There is such a stark change. So in retreat with Athella, I'll just speak for Athella, has a beautiful retreat that when we developed it, it's about integration and how to integrate presence or being at home anywhere you are. And so a lot of the practice is simulations. So we'll be doing things that involve being in traffic. We'll be using different devices and then doing it in presence or mindfulness. We practice doing basic tasks that one would be doing in their everyday world and doing it with presence and with our guides and in light. And other training exercises that are in nature, which are, I believe they bring us to our fundamental humanity as being faced with big giant waves, or you know, having a dolphin come up on your kayak and bonk your kayak. and fear, like fear, moving through fear, looking at fear, being with the energy of fear. It transforms us. And then in our matrix world, or in this world of forms, then we're more equipped. We do know what it feels like to be home, and we realize that all of this is illusion. It really is. And so that's something I wish to speak to as well, is the illusion, I think, is very compelling these days. There is a lot of fear running around on the planet. And so to come home every day, to be in our quote unquote meditation, or whatever that means for you, but to come home every day for a bit is critical.
Yes.
So that we don't get sucked into the
but we also become part of the energetic solution, you know, because the energy right now is at a hysteria. It's static. It's going nowhere. It's feeding no one other than hysteria and more static. When you go home into that place where you connect, you now become part of the wavelength that has a movement to it, that gathers other people along with it, like the waves, like the way the dolphins jump, like the way the birds fly, like the way the wind blows, our blood goes, the water goes. Everything is about the current always being in unison and in flow. That kind of energy, when we feed that, exudes out like a ripple effect and calms people around us. The energy that's out there right now is like, you know, static and a false energy, because it's not feeding anything other than the hysteria and the fear. So when you can look at it for what it is and go, no, I wish to be on that wavelength. I want to be with the waves. I want to be with the wind. I want to be with the rustle of the trees, the trickle of the water, you know, the laughter of the kids, the puppies and the kittens. It is such a beautiful soul grounding that it takes you back into that, I'm home.
Yes. For those that feel, I have a client, Sara, that tells me every now and again, well, Christina, you know, this is really bubbly, and like, you can't just live like unicorns and rainbows and, you know.
You ain't got the message.
And she's a very spiritually evolved human being, and lovely human being, who has achieved a lot of great things, a lot of material wealth, and I just love her. I fully appreciate that, because when we're in the thick of it, right, or we have good reason to buy into this fear, then shifting right into the vortex of love's vibration in that moment is it just seems like that's not really possible. This isn't real. I've got to face reality, and et cetera, et cetera. So it is a choice. It is to have a choice. I every chance I get, I tell people to get rid of their television, stop reading the news, unplug from their electronics, and begin a meditation practice, move your body, and connect with nature, and find what is joyful for you, and what's not joyful for you, let it go and don't participate in it.
Don't feed it. Don't feed that energy. What you feed will grow, right? So choose, be mindful on what you want to feed. That doesn't mean, you know, that dirty linen or you know, dirty dishes aren't going to come into the scene. The whole thing is, there's going to be some crap you're going to have to face, right? But you can face it so much easier if you have fed that other energy, because you don't look at it as an obstacle. It's just something you've got to clean up along the way.
Sure. And the labels are very compelling as well. Like, this is good and this is bad. And so just noticing those labels as well, and sensing what gives you joy and what makes you happy in that moment. And if you're finding the noise in the head is really where it's at, that creates the suffering. So for every individual, I feel that the evolving happens when we start to realize that it's on the inside, this dialogue that's creating the suffering. And we can be very aware of what dialogue we're holding in our minds. And back to what you were saying about programming, and gosh, am I in the habit of thinking this way? Like, just observing our thoughts in any given 24-hour period will just totally open our minds and make us realize what it is that we're manifesting, what kind of world we're manifesting for ourselves. And that is contributing to the collective.
Yes.
So another thing that sometimes I'll hear often in social media is, well, I can't just bury my head in the sand. There are real problems. You're just going to stand by, Christina, and watch the world burn? Not going to do anything? You know, I can't just stand by and let this happen. And I feel that those are very extreme ways of saying that the mind is going to fix this world crisis, because that's not true.
Well,
so
I call the new activism, the new activism is actionism. And the thing is, what action are we going to take? Because activism is an angst. I'm angry. But the actionism, what am I going to do? And if enough people send love around something, send prayers around something, send goodwill around something, that energy all of a sudden just smothers that situation or that person or that place. And although they don't really know it, they know there's a shift within them, and there's a different way of looking at something, and some pain or some sorrow or some anguish is being released. We have to actually understand a little bit about quantum energy and how it works. And the more we raise that vibration and that frequency to the love hertz of 560 hertz as a minimum, the more we're going to, in that vibration of love, exude out, right? And it means that the proximity of you is going to be felt, and that it's going to, you know, immerse itself into someone. Even if they are troubled in the moment, it's going to be there, and it will trickle down. That is the actionism I'm talking about. Not pitchforks, not guns, not war. You know, it's, and to some people say, oh, it's an act of war. No. You know, love and war don't go together, right? It is a movement of love. It's an actionism of love. And you can't give that love until you've found it within yourself and have it for yourself. Otherwise, it's an act, but it's not you.
Yes. Yes.
And of course, things like forgiveness and apology and permission don't even exist in that realm, do they? You are. That simply is.
Yes, there's just the I am.
Yeah.
The I am, which we could never really fully talk about in words, washes all that stuff away. It's just pure light. Yeah. We're all going into fusing with pure light anyways. Right. It's all going to be okay. Therefore, it's like I'm not too bothered. And I say this with deep compassion. Not even the personality of Christina is very bothered by what is happening externally at the world level. I know for a fact that we all fuse and merge ourselves with light at the end of this adventure, and then we continue to evolve on. And I also know that human consciousness is on the rise.
Oh boy, yes.
It's happening now. So
well, that's why there is so much anger and angst out there, is because there's that shift into consciousness.
It's discombobulation for the betterment of all, and then it's like unfolding like a flower opening.
Well, it's like people becoming aware of things they did in the past, like the Me Too movement. The way you used to treat women and thought it was okay is no longer okay. We're not condemning you for the past unless you went too far, because that's all that you knew. But now that you know better, we expect better action from you. So it's an evolvement of that consciousness. It's an evolvement of knowing. It's not a question of what's wrong or right. It's what's kind and what's unkind. And if you put somebody at disease, then you are going to create a disease of discomfort and distrust along that path of life. So to be kind to someone and respectful and honor who they are is the energy that we're asking people to give each other, because that is that love vibration of respect. You don't have to love everybody. It's not a kumbaya. It's a question of, I respect you enough to admire your conviction. I can't condone any hate. I can't condone any unkindness, but I can understand maybe where you're coming from, and I wish you love, and I wish you kindness. I wish you clarity, but that's their journey for here on earth. But I think that's the reason why we're shaking up so much right now. People are waking up to a consciousness, and it's causing the old paradigm to be shaking in their boots, because they've been under the radar for so long, and now they're exposed. And in that shaking it up and getting rid of the scum and the surge on the top, with all the purity coming up from underneath, that is up to each and every one of us. Stepping into our own self-loving vibration is what's putting the pressure on all of this to change.
Just brimming with beautiful truths. And again, it comes back to the essence.
Yes.
Right? The I am.
Yes.
So
as you said, you're with yourself. It doesn't matter where you run to. You are with yourself from the day you're born to the day you die in this vessel and beyond. Yes. So you may as well learn to like yourself, love yourself, be with yourself, because wherever you go with you. Yes. You can't escape you, can you?
No, we certainly have been on the run. I know I've been on the run.
Yes. We all have somewhere on the line.
We stop running, and you know, it's a great lesson. The suffering, such a great teacher, the fear and all of that, the anger, it is marvelous spiritual teachings to help us to stop. And so right now, even as listeners have been tuned in, we tune into our breath again, we find that here I am, there you are. We can be observing, very aware of thoughts as they're coming in.
Yes, and being present.
Yeah, and then just coming back to our essence, that feeling of ourselves, which we can't really put words to. Obviously, it's the experience, the grounding in this.
It's the soul grounding, though. It's not the earth grounding, it's the soul grounding, because the soul needs to connect kind of within the energy of the earth so that it can come back up. For me, it's all about the soul ignition, soul igniting the heart into the spirit so the mind knows what it needs to know when it needs to know it, the knowingness. That knowingness is where we're in right now. We knew we had a byline of what we wanted to talk about, and we spoke about that at the beginning. But being with self, and this entire organic conversation is everything around being with self. What are our obstacles? Why do we put them there? What are the solutions? Why is it important that we are with self? And understanding that some people, it was being selfish for me to take time out. I have family, I have this and that. No, it's imperative that you do. Because how can you serve everyone else empty? resentful, abandoned, because you haven't had any time to go home to self and love and nurture you. You can't serve anyone else like that.
No. And gritting our teeth and gritting it for the betterment, is not the way.
No, I mean, it's the old paradigm again of, you know, suffer and sacrifice, and, you know, no, it's not about sacrificial. No, absolutely not. Thumbs down on that. We're going to go through experiences that evolve us into being the awesome being we're meant to be, in service of life forms on this planet, whichever platform we choose to be on. And yes, there's going to be some suffering along the way, because life happens to us, and it's how we react to it, how we learn from it, how we evolve from it. But that doesn't mean you have to go out and say, I need to suffer to feel life. No, you don't.
Yes, no. I just love these the patterns of the mind, the way the mind goes, right? And would suggest that the way is through, you know, pushing and perseverance, and even the word discipline and all of that.
Goals and
and there's nothing wrong with these things. Just simply that returning to oneself would be as simple as just plopping down and putting a blanket over yourself and saying, Mommy's going to take, 2 or 5 minutes.
Yeah. And switch off time. Yeah.
Exactly. Or
we charge our batteries.
Yes.
We charge our phones. We put gas in the car, or we recharge the electric car. Everything needs charging.
Yes.
Why don't we?
So most of us then, we could kind of say too, well, I don't really know, when it comes down to it, like I don't really know how to soothe myself, or I don't really know how to be with myself. It's probably, if this is, your first rodeo with being with yourself, then it feels a little uncomfortable. But most of these listeners in your audience, Sara, everyone's pretty familiar with what it feels like to be home. And then we skip out on that. We skimp on it, and we move on to the next, right? And we keep ourselves in that kind of pace.
Yeah, we're on the back burner all the time.
Yeah, it points to retreat. And I say this again because a lot of people, they'll think about retreats and then they'll decide to do vacations. But a retreat allows you to really be with yourself. That's the agenda. Yeah. And that's the only thing that the retreat is. The retreat is there for you to be with it's a container, to be with yourself.
And the thing is, it's what, I mean, for me, I love silence. I've got to that point where I absolutely love silence, and, I can go up into the universe and just be a part of it. But if I have got too much chatter going on, the headphones are on and just some background music. And, if you're in that early stages of chatter, I need to be doing this. What am I doing sitting down? I've got this to do and that to do. The chatter is have something, that drowns out the chatter. And I don't mean heavy metal, something soothing that kind of can take you back on that wave. And then just, listen to it. It's not words. It's just the sound of the music, or the sound of the waves, or the sound of something that can take your whole psyche and put you back onto another wavelength. And sometimes we need help to do that until we can just do it ourselves.
Yes.
Find out what it is, right? Is it nature? Is it music? What is it that will do that for you? Is it earplugs? I mean, for me, it's always the too much chatter in the head, when I get like that. And so it's having something that can keep that chatter busy, and then I can go home. So you've just got to find out what works for you, and don't go, well, I tried it once and it didn't work. You've got to keep trying different ways until you find that way that you can go home to self. And it's like a wonderful deep breath, isn't it? Waiting to exhale, letting it all out, and then just breathing all your loving energy back in, and then going, I can do this. I can do this. Excuse me.
Yes. Right now. Oh, releasing. Let's be with ourselves again right now. After all, we've never left.
Yes.
We never leave ourselves. And let's maybe practice this time, perhaps with our eyes open, we could just perceive ourselves right here.
Kind of see our breath.
Yeah. Be with the movement of the chest or of the Buddha belly breath.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Be in your environment. It is Athella. In conclusion, when you are still like a crystal calm lake, you can see, you can feel calm, loving energy like loving wings wrapped around you. Yes, you can. You can forgive. Forgiving of everyone associated with you and yourself. You can heal. You can feed your cells this quiet, serene energy. And you can unite with universe. That's where you come from. You can return to yourself, your origin. These are 5 elements. There are many more. Imagine there is a quiet lake. Let your mind rest on this image. There is a quiet lake inside of your mind. It is your inner lake of calm serenity. These waters run deep, like the depth of your consciousness. As you sit quietly by the lake, you feel a breeze on your face. The lake is glass, calm, and it calms you. You too are like this lake, ever so still and peaceful. Inhale and exhale. Whenever you need to, dear ones, close your eyes and come to the calm lake and sit. Allow yourself to do nothing. Channel the energy of a calm, peaceful lake with the wind blowing over your face. All is well.
A lovely meditation from Athella there.
Just feeling the peace arising. And this was, what was this? 4 minutes, 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We give our time to everyone else. Why do we not take time for ourselves? It is essential we do, just in that few minutes of feeling those waves, feeling that wind, feeling the gentility of the touch of the water, the wind on the brow, just that breath uniting with it, just the feeling of letting go, releasing. It just opens everything up to rejuvenation and calmness. And we know as a human species, we can't do things unless we're calm. We don't have clarity unless we're calm. We don't see solutions unless we're calm. We can't take action unless we're calm, because everything else shuts us up, tightens us up, causes us to react. So being calm gives us the tools and everything we need in order to be able to see what needs to be done and to take that action.
Brilliantly said. Like a prayer, like a chanting. My intention for everyone is to, and I certainly will do this, is to hear this message on replay. And play it often.
Yes.
This is what the ears are hearing.
Yes, this is what the ears want to hear. And this is no ego here. This is us channeling. This is us bringing our knowingness to it, because we are in an angry state in this world, and that has caused confusion and has caused reaction, and it causes this negative static energy. But if each and every one of us stepped into that calmness, that love, that peace, that clarity within us, and we bring that energy forth, and that beautiful ripple effect, and how it reaches out and it reaches up, and where people feel the arms of loving energy wrapped around them, how can people stay in a state of anger or a state of confusion? You know, it's not the words that give them the clarity. It's the loving energy that will give them the ability to find the words within themselves.
May all sentient beings be blessed with peace, love, and a self-love that continues to grow, your commitment to self-love every day and being with yourself. May that continue to be the priority and a blessing for all. Thank you so much, dear Sara. This is an incredible sitting.
That self-love that you talk about, that wonderful, beautiful, selfish self-love of energy, of divineness, of purity, of clarity, is our tool, is our instrument in bringing about peace. We are the peace we seek. We are the clarity. We are the solution. And only when we step into that calmness can we see it. And we will change the world by changing ourselves. And all this energy will rise up, which will be beautiful. That's the invitation.
The ultimate dispersion happens when each of us have ascended and shifted for ourselves. It's true. It's true.
Yeah. So don't look to someone else. Look to you. Listen to you. Feel you. Right? It's if there's angst going on around your life, that's going on around you. When you step into that, that breath, that love, that everything of you, you look at all that chaos and you know how to put it into order, because you have the clarity. And if we all stepped into that, we'll start putting things in order. Not the right, wrong, and this way and that way. No, just the loving way, because love is the answer. And it's not the kumbaya love, I'm going to love everybody, carte blanche. It's the loving energy of us all rising up into self-love. Because with self-love, we don't have room for hate.
Oh, Truly. Self-love, the healing agent, and it starts here.
Yes, we are the solution we seek.
Yes.
It's nobody else, it's us. It's us. We are it. Look at the turmoil you lived in. You were on the street, you were a drug addict, you had lost everything in life, you institutionalized, you went through hell. But then Athella tapped you on the shoulder as everybody gets a redirect, something that comes along to help them in that redirect. And she immersed herself with you because she knew that you were the vessel to speak this truth. But you had to find that truth within yourself first. You didn't just suddenly switch on a switch and then, this is it, I'm now with Athella. You had to go through, your own transformation, your own process. You had to be willing to let go of all the pain and anguish that put you there on the streets in the first place.
Yes.
And you had to allow yourself that journey of self-love, because Athella couldn't work with you unless you had that self-love. You can't go out there in your authenticity of your voice with Athella unless it's with love.
Yes.
So everybody can make this journey. Everybody can do it if we are willing to feed the loving energy. Without condition, I'll give you loving energy if you give me this. No. Just feed the love. Feed the love. It doesn't mean you condone things that are going on, but it means that you're giving loving energy so people will shift their consciousness, shift their perspective.
Yes.
If everybody stepped into self-love, they would not be so eager to inflict hurt or pain on others.
Also, the collective pain body would collapse.
Yes.
I mean, it would implode.
Yes.
If everyone stepped into their self-love instantaneously, it would go.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
So
and then what would the news do?
That's right. The news. You know, in Canada, I have to divert here for a moment because I know in Canada I've noticed there's some positive news. Right? They highlight positive events in their news.
Yes.
And so I think what would happen here and what is happening is that the implosion of pain body would create only loving kindness, and that would be the only thing that would be noteworthy to talk about. And so there would be these changes that we see in the media and in our leadership. Suddenly there would be, of course there's always challenge, but I think primarily the feeling vibration is going to be attuned to the love vibration. The frequencies change, and so news will look like more neutral or positive based.
And more invitational instead of fear mongering. You know, most of our shows, our news things, there's always a lot of laughter and, you know, less sterile and fun bartering going back and forth. You know, they do the serious news, and then it's the sports and entertainment, and then it's the kind of the Swatch Day sign off, and it's a story of somebody local that's, you know, had a challenge and faced it, and who they are today because of it, and what they're doing for the community. It's always a celebration of life. And if we remember to celebrate each other, I celebrate the journey you've made. I thank you for making it. It is why you are in your beingness today, why Athella can come through you, right? Without you willing to take that journey, you wouldn't be who you are. You'd probably be dead.
Yes, that's true. Yes.
So it's that willingness to go through the process. It's not getting stuck in the pain or the injustice or the this and that. It's what do we learn from it? How do we learn to forgive? How do we learn not to forget, but not to let the pain consume us? How do we learn from it? How do we find our strength and courage from it to become who we are? Every time I get into an area of self-doubt or of just in that area of like I'm lost at the moment, all I have to do is look back on what I've overcome and just put it down. I'm tired at the moment, so my clarity is not there. So if I'm tired at the moment, what do I need to do? Love and nurture me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Sara, your evolution and metamorphosis, if I may, it's just epic. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-blowing. And these shows and your media, we can't even surmise the ripple effect that it has had on the planet or on all human beings, anyone that comes into contact with it. And because of it, of course, it nurtures you in ways that you couldn't imagine or conceive of. The ripples are still going out, I mean, into the eons.
Yes.
And this is all light service, but it's evolving within you. This is all morphing within you, changing you, renewing, replenishing you. So I just feel so honored every time I encounter you, sincerely. And I feel that you are the real deal, and your ascension has embodied all these steps. And so every single word you speak comes from a place of true authenticity, and everyone else gets the opportunity to ascend in this very same way. So it's like you're saying, the news becomes educational. This media is the conscious media of the future.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 750,000 podcasts out there. We are the future. And it's because people want the truth. People want the truth. And, you know, the thing is, I've wanted to expand and ripple out, and it's happening. I had a 2-hour wonderful conversation with a publisher yesterday, and we're going to be aligning together. And it's like, you know, I knew that I was at that transition. I also knew it was book time for me to write a book. And after the conversation with him, the book has changed to what it's going to be, and actually will be easier to write. So it's like sometimes you have to take a step back in your life. And, you know, somebody says, well, maybe you should change directions. No, it's not changing directions. It is expanding, but expanding in a way that can keep the structure solid. I'm not going to give up on these 2,500 wonderful shows of wisdom. The knowledge that has been shared here by people's life journeys, the things they've come through, the courage, the strength, the wisdom that they share out with people, and the tools and the skills in order to go through their own process of life is more than invaluable. It's cosmic. And now it's just an avenue of how do we expand that even further.
Oh, and I know every listener here is backing you up and knows this truth shines forth. These are our calling cards. They're reminders of how to be present, how we can heal our pain, how we can journey together in our brothers and sisters in community, how we can ascend together. So the guardians and the angels and the celestial beings that be are making sure to usher this forth. And I know fully 100% that you're being supported in this. It's an evolution, and I'm so happy to participate in it.
I'm very happy that you keep coming back. Most certainly. I love these shows. They definitely ascend us all. And that's the thing. You stopped for a while when we did our shows, and you went off on another journey, and then you come back. The whole thing is not a severing of a thread. It is that each one of us have a journey that, you know, of expansion, of here and there, and all it does is just keeps rippling out the message in different ways. And the other thing I think is important for people to know, you may have a dream, you may have a passion, you may be in the middle of something. I have stalled so many times in this process of this podcast network, and I've tried this avenue and tried that avenue, and it hasn't expanded the way I wanted. It doesn't mean I stopped trying, but what it does, it means I step back and go, okay, what am I trying to achieve? Don't put out how you want it to happen. Put out what you would like to achieve, and then step back and allow it to happen. Right? Because then it will happen in the way it's meant to happen with the right people. It's the picture of what you want to achieve in the end, of who you want to reach. That is the goal that you need to have. It's not how you get there. You will be guided. Just be ready and willing to get up and go when the opportunity is given.
Truly, truly. You are a champion at that. Do you know how many people I have worked with that, and they have no cause for this because they've manifested all other things, but in certain areas, you know, they're just like, I'm just not achieving this, and I don't know what to do. That seems to be a common phrase. When really it's not, it's out of our hands. It's not up to us.
Don't do nothing. It's time to come back, nurture yourself, love yourself, and just keep projecting out your reason why. Your reason why, right? I know what I want to achieve with this network and with self-discovery community in serving people. I know what I want to achieve, but who I align with and how it goes about is something I have to wait for it to be presented. I follow up on every opportunity, and when it's the right one, it will be the synergy I'm looking for, and the expansion will come. But we can't force something. If you're in the now and in the now energy, I realized when I came back from the UK, I was exhausted. I crashed. And it was, okay, right now, this is not what I'm going to do, because some shifts happened. And instead of being depressed about it, okay, fine. It's book time. Because everybody keeps asking me for it. It's also concentrate on the nonprofit. And in doing that, and just taking a step back and giving myself some nurturing, all of a sudden, all these doors are opening.
Oh, yes, of course.
And that's because I allow. And that's something we have to learn in our now, is to allow. Don't dictate. Don't dictate. It is allow. I know what my picture wants to look like and who it is going to serve, but who's going to be on that journey, I have to allow them to pick up the frequency and the wavelength of my intent and want to ride with me.
Oh, yes. And that comes from here predominantly.
The forehead, the eye,
and when
the third
this is
eye.
all clear up here, that's like, that's shining forth in a sacred geometric way. It's like clear, crystal clear. Everyone picks up on it that needs to.
Yes.
None of the allowing stuff with universe and, you know, turning it over to universe, as we've heard many people say, none of that has anything to do with our minds. So there is no force or strain.
Nope.
And if you find yourself doing that, then you can just quit and stop, and then come back home, back to presence. As you said, everything manifests, unfolds as you're in the vibrational bracket that you need to be in.
That's the key, to be in that vibration. And to understand if you're anxious, or if you're low, if you're tired, you can't vibrate out the way you want to. So that is a message right now, to put some time and loving energy on you, to take the breath, take the time, go home to self. What do you need? Because even if an opportunity came up right now, what could you do about it if you're exhausted? Or if you're feeling not connected? If you want your frequency to be out there where it's going to connect, you need to fortify yourself with that loving energy, which means go in and love yourself. Recharge yourself and your chakras and all of that, and allow yourself to receive. And then it will come to you when it is meant to come to you. But we're, as human beings, we've got to reach this goal. We've got to do this. We've got to do this by that time.
The pressure.
Pressure. That's the human pressure, folks. Human pressure. Let it go. Let it go. Right. I know it's a hard one. You and I've both gone through this. What do you mean, let it go? Let it go. And if you step into the intent of the frequency, you know, and you will get people, oh, I get you. You and I always get each other. And when they get, then we ride that wave. And that means that that frequency is, it's like a Morse code. Beep, 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 beep. It's going out there, rippling out to everyone. And suddenly everybody knows what we're talking about.
That's right. That's right. We're trying to put language to a process that is in the seventh dimension. I mean, it's really hard to put these concepts to this. It's an interesting process when you finally realize how energy sticks, how it flows. We're all kind of alchemists. We're practicing the alchemy and learning about this allowing stuff, even though it's not on our timetable, which is another trap of the mind. You know, these trap doors are it's a slippery slope in the mind. So again, it all does come back to presence and coming home to oneself. And if we feel that pressure cooker, if we feel the timing of things and feeling like we need to do or force or push, then we always have the choice, no matter where we are, to come back into our home space and to, as Sara, you've done marvelously, take care of myself.
Yes. Oh, that's unbelievable. A challenge, a huge challenge. You know, part of it I didn't know how to, and part of it was, well, how can I do that because I'm meant to be doing this? And then it was like, no, that's not important. If you can't give all of yourself, then don't give anything of yourself until you're ready to give yourself again.
Right, right. And where does that all come from? Again, it comes back to self-love.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I don't know who it was. One of these old Greek fellas said, "You cannot give that which you have not got."
Exactly.
You know? And it's so
Yes.
true.
It
you
is.
can't give anything if your tank is empty.
Or if you're gasping for breath, oxygenate yourself first.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we talk about this all the time. It's one of my bylines that inspiration is invitation. And when you live and when you are inspired, and through that enthusiasm of inspiration, your inspiration then becomes invitational for others through that inspiration to seek their own journey or be inspired to do something themselves. It's not about everybody adopting what you're saying. It's about people shifting enough to open up their mind and their chakras and their whole soul, spirit, and let it in. You're never alone. We are never alone. We're at home with self. But when we do that, we're opening up to the universal energy that just comes pouring in. And that clarity is all that wonderful knowledge they've given us that we now understand because we're in that space of peace and calmness. And now we can understand what they've given us. And we know how to use it, but we can't do that if we're like this.
Yeah, when it gets really heavy in here, then it's time to come back into here. And we won't be able to sense, a lot of people don't sense their guides through the vision, through our ocular vision. But you can certainly feel it through the elements or through our ears or in our heart space, like clairsentience.
Yes.
And we know, you just know, nobody is going to say, we're all alone here and I can't tell how divination is coming or arriving. Yes, you do. You do know. You can feel it. And when you're in your head predominantly, you can feel that as well. There is such an opportunity in this show we've done here today, such an opportunity for everyone listening to make the realignment. Yeah. And if you're listening to this, it's probably because your guides have led you here to hear this for your realignment and for your own self-care, your nourishment. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank goodness. We all need, no one is immune or removed from the reminder card.
No life forms. No life forms at all. Every life form has that recharging moment. The reason why animals are so, intelligent is because they're so intuitive. They intuitively know what to do because their chakras are always open into receiving. It's us that in this ego are thinking that we are more important or more intellectual and we're more this, we're more that. And we get so caught up in that self-importance that we forget about the importance of self.
Yes. True essence. And the egoic mind will always have different opinions and ways to pull us out of that. And that's fine and well. But the truth is that we are able to be with ourselves and our full self is already here. It's here. You're here. And we can just tune in quietly and feel, feel that breath, feel the peace.
It's always about the breath, isn't it? Because the breath brings the balance.
Yes.
When we say to someone, take a breath, literally take that breath. It will bring your equilibrium back down. It will bring your clarity down. You'll step out of reactionary, and just see things for what they are. And is it worth getting worked up about? Is it worth spending that energy? Could that energy be better spent in being part of the healing or even just walking away at that time, right? Knowing when to walk away. This is nothing you can do right now in this state of being or in their state of being. And go in and nurturing yourself, fortifying yourself, and then coming back with a projection of kindness or love or clarity and let that person feel it. And if the doors are going to open up again with them, great. They've received you. If it doesn't, then let it go. They're not ready to receive.
Yes. Yes, and we find the breath a great companion is waiting for us.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. And the interesting thing as an asthmatic, breath is something I've always been conscious of because I run out of it. The power of filling your lungs and giving you life. You've got to understand, breath is life. Without it, we do not exist. And so breathing deep and allowing our lungs and the oxygen to go through our whole body, physically, emotionally, spiritually, it just it feeds everything. We cannot live without breath. And those deep breaths are what feed us.
So true. And it's so simple.
Yes.
So we
Everything always is so simple, isn't it? We like to complicate it.
Yeah.
That ego again, you know, we've got to make it complicated. No, it's simple.
Yes. It's so simple. It's so playful, so simple.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this journey, ejecting out of this vessel, this temple, we glide out on a breath. We glide in on a breath. We glide out on a breath.
Yes. Yes.
So the breath is really the never, no fail. It's like breath is no fail.
Yeah. For as long as you've got breath within you, you have got hope within you. You've got purpose within you, and you can take action. And that's the thing, is take the action. Don't get stuck in the story. What knowledge is being given to you to take the action, to do something with that? Maybe your story needs to be shared so that it can educate other people. Maybe the tools and skills that you've learned to come out of it becomes your calling. But understand, your story is to be told, to be shared, and it's here to teach you. Don't get stuck in it. It's everything in life is about going through the process, through it, not around it, avoid it, or paying someone else to do it. Going through it in a willingness with all that it gives you. Because what it gives you in the end is you as a supreme being of who you really are, that real ascension into that beingness, that sentient being that really understands what the partnership is between the sentient and the human being and what we're really here to do, and the gift of life itself.
Precious. I feel such a calling. If we were to have live callers, I'm sure that we would have guests coming in and that would share their light and their journeys and have questions. And
then maybe that's something that next we have to do. We have to look up how to do that and send out the invite. That would be a good one.
Like a live stream or something like that, right?
Yeah.
We, you know, Athella and I, we're just honored to serve, and it's really true, Sara, what you're saying about the gift of life. And we are here, limited time offers.
Yes.
we are here to really learn and to play and grow, and that's just an honor right there, and to feel that we're supported. We have these beautiful guardian angels, or whatever you want to call them, around us, boosting us and vying for us, caring for us. So I feel the reminder is out, everyone that's listening to this message today, that all the tools needed are within you. There is no one above you, and we're all equal. We are all capable of returning home and being with ourselves. So if any part of your world is lacking, then go within.
Yes. And, you know, shows like this and work like you do and work like I do, we're your champions. You know, we're here to champion you along. We're here to help you, you know, keep you in alignment, or show you a path forward, or show you the breath. You know, we're not walking it for you, but we're helping you navigate through it. And, you know, we're here to champion you into, you know, knowing that you can. We know you can. We did. We came out of, you know, the sewage to do it. And look where we are now, you know, crystal clear water, you know, and it can be done. It's the willingness to do it and the willing to go through the process. And the faster you get on with it, the faster you get through the other side. But again, you will always be taken through at the pace you're meant to go for the lesson you're meant to learn in the now.
Yes.
Sometimes it's leaps and bounds, and sometimes it's one toe at a time. But go with that flow. There's reasons behind it. So what's on the agenda for you next? What is happening for you on your world at the moment?
I continue to stay in service of Athella, and Athella says retreats. So we are doing retreats. We are also going to be at Carnegie Hall in New York City in December again.
Wonderful.
And we'll be opening the show, and Athella will be channeling. She's the first channeler to ever go to Carnegie Hall. So I see that as a beautiful moment. And, you know, I really stay very present. So I'm very open to whatever unfolds, and wherever the light points us or wherever the portal opens, then we follow. And so I find Athella, the more I lean on Athella and follow that route, then the more light that can be shown. And as I contacted you, Sara, I said, Athella says it's showtime.
Yep.
And so we just follow light, and staying in light, I think, is the highest priority on the agenda.
Yes. Yes. And, you know, for people who want to know more about your journey, of course, we've done numerous shows together here on Channeling Ascensions, which you'll find under the past show banner. And this one is on Ignite Your Heart and Soul today. But also you'll find her movie that was made on her life, and all of the other things that you've done. And of course, all your information on Carnegie Hall will be up on your site. So would you give everybody your site, please?
Of course. This is the human site, right? And
yes.
we're beyond all the human forms, but this is the front door, and it's athella.org, ATHELLA.org.
And you can find out about the retreats there, and everything else that she does, the meditations, the movie, all of the shows that we've done together, and all the other things that she's done. And Carnegie Hall for Athella, that is a nice one in the bonnet there, you know, because never mind the prestige, which obviously it is, but it's also the history of Carnegie Hall and the energy that you're going to tap into, you know, and all that's gone before there, because everybody that's gone there, it's been an achievement where the invitation to be their very best and share all their love and their passion is literally immersed in every piece of woodwork there. And so stepping into all of that energy and then just letting it, you know, just lift you up, you know, it's going to be quite a moment for you and for Athella, but also for the people that receive, because I know that all that loving energy is just going to be immersed right into it. So that's wonderful.
Just a burst of light, a manifesto. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And
I'm very appreciative of what you say about the prestige, because there's what we see at the curtain call, and then there's what is unseen by the audience and viewers behind the curtain. And I will be the first to say publicly, I've seen a lot of spiritual ego. I've seen a lot of those that say one thing and then off stage, they're in a totally different vibration, and they don't live this stuff.
Right.
And I feel
they preach it, they don't live it. Yes.
Yeah. It's no matter what the dollar amount, right? No matter how successful you are, I feel strongly we must be who we say we are if we're going to lead people through this spiritual evolution of consciousness. And if we step off of that and let someone who is truly living it move to the forefront. And I feel that's just like a discllaimer on all this Carnegie Hall business. Very exciting, but it is.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I've interviewed the people that are the grandstanders, you know, and they're the preachers. They're very good at it, but they don't practice it. They're not it, right? And the thing is when you are it, there is no definition between the work you do and who you are. You are your work. Your work is you. And so what people see, as I say, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm people's strong cup of black coffee. You know, I'm a preference. I'm a preference, and I understand that. But you are going to get me on the camera here, off the camera, everywhere else. This is Sara, and I make no apologies for it, and I will not be offended if I'm not your cup of tea. That's okay. But you're right. There are some people where there's the public facade and then the other, and those authentic ones, you know, that's really wonderful when you find the people that truly haven't drunk their own Kool-Aid, but are the journey that they've become.
Truly, truly. I have to say one more point too. Before going into Carnegie Hall last year, I was in a Starbucks and ran into, I saw a gentleman who was clearly homeless, and my mind immediately, my energy, everything just kind of launched into that individual, and I realized, I hadn't thought about it in a long time, but yeah, I remember those days, carrying my backpack and everything else. And so I bought the gentleman, he didn't know this, but I bought him some food and some tea, and I had the barista go, and I told her, I said, go up to him directly. I don't want you to put this on the bar. Right. Go up to him directly and give it to him, please. And she said, okay. So she went and did that. And I sat there for a good while, and I watched, just observing and seeing his energy, and that just totally made his day. You could tell it was like very
someone
needed.
Cared. Someone cared.
Yeah, totally. And I remember speaking to some of the speakers at Carnegie Hall beforehand, and I mentioned this to them, and I said, I'm really grateful and blessed to be here, and I shall never forget the way that my quote unquote life used to be. And no matter, I just knew it, no matter like what happens, I'm never going to be out of reach of what that is. And that kind of humility, and the kind of humility I see in you, Sara, and the authenticity, being true to oneself, and really presenting, you know, if it's tired, or if it's, you know, I'm not feeling well, or whatever it is, but presenting oneself in the truth. And so I just thought of that just now, and I thought I'd share that as well. It's like, we're all equal in this ride.
And, you know, do not judge people, you know, because they're down. You know, they're in a transition. For some people, they've not been given that hand up, not hand out, hand up, into realizing who they are. And for some people, this is their life journey at the moment for some reason or other, and the next life will be different. But we cannot pass that judgment on it. Kindness is the first step towards love. And if you can't be kind to people, either with a smile or with a gift or just an acknowledgement, how many people out there are lonely in the world because nobody sees them, nobody pays attention to them. I'm not just talking about the homeless. There are so many lonely people because people are looking at what they want from you, as opposed to who you really are and what you've got to give. If you're around those people, change channels, because you want to be around the people that truly see you and, you know, respect and honor you for who you are. You don't always agree, but you are who you are. As Popeye says, I am what I am, right? And if people want to be with you, it's because they've chosen to be with you. But if it's like, what can I get from you? You know, how can you serve me, not in a way to help me expand my life, but, you know, get ahead, then it's the wrong energy, and you do not want to contaminate yourself with that wrong energy.
That's right, including spouses and
your friends and everything else.
People closest to us.
Yes. You have to close doors. Yes,
that's right.
Yes.
Again, it's part of being with oneself.
Yes.
And sitting with oneself. These things will pop up in the radar screen and will be brought to your attention as you become more willing to sit with yourself quietly.
Yep.
It'll be made known to you. So I'm thankful for life. Thank you, life. Thank you, universe. Thank you, our guides. Thank you, Sara. And this is a beautiful mission you're on. I'm so happy to be part of it. And thank you for inviting me as a guest.
Well, thank you for coming back. We'll have to look at that live one and see how we're going to make that happen. And we'll let everybody know through the social medias what's happening there. But we'll arrange that and get some questions in there, which I know will be a lot of fun. And, you know, it's we're here to serve. We're here to enlighten, but we can only do that to people that are ready. You know, and that's the thing with, you may listen to the show and you want to share it with everyone because it's lifted you up. Absolutely wonderful. Somebody else may not get the same thing from it because it depends where they are in their lives and how ready they are. But that's okay. You can keep sharing. You can keep talking about it. You can keep listening to it and doing the meditations like Athella gave us, you know, along the way. And every time you feel down and negative, or I just don't know, listen to a show like this and it will remind you. It will remind you. All you need is some self-love to pick yourself back up.
That's right.
Because the universe loves you unconditionally. So why can't you love you? Right? And love makes the world go round. Most definitely.
You've left me speechless. I'm so moved and touched. And thank you for everyone listening in. And may the vibrations zing out. And may you be uplifted in your ascension as you hear this and continue to hear it.
Yes.
I think this is a bright, bright light for others to partake in.
Yes. And let there be light. Absolutely. And remember, folks, you know, it is up to you. It's up to your willingness to accept. It's up to your willingness to let go. It's up to your willingness to allow. And, you know, when you do, you really will truly understand what we're talking about. So thank you, Christina. Thank you, Athella. Until next time, we'll let you know when the live one is. Don't forget to go to the Channeling Ascension on past shows to hear all of Christina and I's past shows, because there's some awesome ones there. And don't forget to look at her movie as well. And if you're in Carnegie, going to be around New York, Carnegie Hall for December, get your tickets now, athella.org. And don't forget the retreats too. You know, it's sometimes good to go to retreat to learn how to manage going in when you go home. So it's a really good shifting of your perspective and of your mindset so that you can take it home with you. So thanks, Christina.
Home is where it's at. Love and light to all of you. Thank you so much, Sara. Love and light.
Thank you, love. Until next time, folks. Bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show and were inspired. Come and visit us at selfdiscoverymedia.com and see what other shows we have for you. And please do visit our selfdiscoverycommunity.org and see how you can be a part of giving back. Thank you very much.